The Kenyan shilling has seen its rate of weakening against the dollar fall to its lowest pace since the beginning of this year, reflecting reduced demand and improved supply of dollars in the economy. The Central Bank of Kenya data shows that the shilling has shed an average of 3 cents to the dollar since the beginning of December, compared to an average loss of 12 cents a day in November and 13 cents in October. Now, a sample done on Monday on the rolling exchange rates showed quotes of between 157.85 shillings and 158 shillings on the selling side, and buying range of between 152.75 shillings and 153 shillings to the dollar. To help us make a meaning of this, I have Professor XN Iraki, an economist, University of Nairobi. Professor Iraki, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Now, the Kenyan shilling shed an average 3 cents to the dollar since the beginning of December, compared to an average loss of 12 cents a day in November and 13 cents in October. So are the signs of resilience in Kenyan shilling a reflection of a decline in demand for dollars and an increase in the supply within the economy?
Yeah, that's very good news and welcome, because that's one of the issues every Kenyan has been complaining about. The shilling has been appreciating against the dollar. That has made our imports very expensive. It has had an effect on inflation. So by this decline, I think it's a sign that the worst is over. Things can only improve. And that's what we all look forward to, that the shilling is going to become stronger. And a lot of economists and a lot of business people are going to start smiling over that.
But then, Professor, what are the factors that could have been responsible for these halts and the narrowing of the margin?
One possibility is about 1 week ago, the Central Bank of Kenya raised the interest rates substantially by about 2%. And that might be having an effect. So the government must have sent a signal telling people that we are not going to allow people to speculate on the dollar anymore. And the government might have sent a signal, and people have realized that the shilling is going to become a bit stronger. So if you have some dollars, you start taking to the market. So that is one possibility. The other possibility is that the interest rates in the US have slowed down. So people are saying, hey, wait a minute, instead of taking my money to US market, I can probably take them to the Kenyan market because the interests have gone up. So this might be the other signs of the effect of government policy.
Now, the stability has also filtered through to the retail markets, where the dollar selling rate has held within about 150 and 160 units of the local currency since mid-August. Now, is it a moment of relief for Kenyans? And does this also suggest a gradual shift towards using the shilling more readily within the country? Or is it too early to even anticipate that?
I think it might be too early to anticipate that, but any good movement in terms of the shilling becoming stronger is welcome. If you are an importer, if you are importing anything into this country, the shilling has really had a very big effect. In fact, if you are building or if you have been using anything imported, you have seen the prices go up because the dollar has become very strong. So anybody who has been importing is feeling very good. It might be too early, but it's a good sign. And I can assure you the market is cheering up, is cheering towards this.
What about salary earners? How does it affect them? And of course, households and the purchasing power. Do you think it would ease them a bit in terms of what they get to spend compared to prices of things in the market?
Definitely, everybody who earns a salary in this country is very happy. Remember, inflation has been going up. And one of the biggest drivers of inflation in this country happens to be oil. And oil is usually imported in dollars. So the moment the dollar becomes strong, imports go up, including crude oil, including petrol, including diesel, and that forces the price of everything to go up. So once the shilling free fall is halted, then everybody's purchasing power is going to improve, because we are going to buy maybe petrol, maybe other imports at a lower price. So everybody's happy about it.
Let's now look at the financial sector, Professor Iraki. Banks had, at the beginning of the year, struggled for dollar liquidity due to stagnated interbank markets, which also made it hard for the economy to discover the true value of the shilling. So are we looking at a more liquid financial and economic ecosystem now?
That's an interesting question, because one of the steps that the central bank took, and the government in general, was to tell us that we need to revive the interbank trading. It has not been doing very well. So we suspect that by the central bank being forceful, there's more trading of the bank, there's more trading of the currency among banks, so there's more supply of the dollars, and that probably has made the shilling appreciate. But there could also be other factors like the fact that the U.S. interest rates have slowed down. So there's an ecosystem. There's some ecosystems that we are seeing taking place around the Kenyan shilling and about the East African markets. But the good thing is it is positive.
Well, economists also suggest that this slower weakening of the shilling holds potential benefits for the Kenyan economy. Earlier on, you talked about the need for, of course, you talked about the fact that the purchasing power would improve in the sense that Kenyans are happy and they would have the ability to also have value for the money that they have in terms of what they get to purchase in the market. But then looking at the Kenyan economy, what are the other benefits that you think would come, and how well do we think that these can be sustained, and that is equally tying it to the policies that may come afterwards?
One of the biggest issues that have been raised by the foreign the depreciation of the Kenyan shilling is the investors. I don't think if you're an investor, you want to come to a country where the currency is always depreciating, where the currency is weakening. So investors are always looking for stability of the currency. They want to be sure that the price stability is maintained. So one of the biggest beneficiaries of a strengthening of the shilling happens to be investors. And it's good because if we get more investors, they bring more dollars and the currency becomes more strong. And that has a ripple effect on the economy in terms of better prices, in terms of stable prices, inflation. And that's what everybody has been complaining about, that inflation has been going up. Like everybody has been complaining, even during national celebrations, that what can we do about the cost of living? And a strong shilling is one day to deal with the rising cost of living, the so-called inflation.
Professor, one will still need to be cautious about these positive news that we're hearing about Kenya's shilling or currency, as the case is, because it's also said that the country would still need to be mindful of some potential risks, most especially if the shilling appreciates too quickly beyond its equilibrium level. What impact would that have on Kenyan exports in the global market? And what are the other risks that we should be wary about, that we should be looking out for?
Two possible areas we need to look at. One of them is that we export out of basic commodities, coffee, tea, and a lot of other commodities. So if the shilling becomes so strong, then these are going to be the losers. And the other area that we need to focus on happens to be tourism. Tourism find it very good when the shilling is not very strong. Remember yesterday the president said that if you're visiting this country from January, you don't need any visa. So if the shilling appreciates too fast, that is going to be counterproductive when we want to attract more tourists. So those are two sectors that we need to be careful. We need to think about when we think about the shilling becoming too strong.
I'd also like to know, Professor Iraki, is Kenya also seeing increase in remittances from its citizens abroad? Are there more foreign aid inflows or a rise in export earnings now? Because these are also great contributors to sustaining the availability of dollars.
One area that has been very sustainable in the last few years is a lot of remittances from Kenyans, specifically Kenyans from US, Kenyans from Europe. But later we have had another very interesting source of remittances, which is the Middle East or the Gulf. So that has also helped the shilling appreciate, because when people send money to this country, they have to exchange it to the Kenyan shilling. But the exports have not done very well, but we expect exports to improve because the rains have come. And our basic commodities like coffee and tea are going to improve. So all the signs seems to be that things can only improve, and we are very excited about it as economists and even as people on the streets.
All right, Professor Iraki, we'll now go back to the financial sector. We know that progressive talks between banks and the Apex Bank, that is the CBK, from March have seen a continued revival of the interbank dollar market in recent months. So does this indicate that competition in the market is increasing, which may lead to more favorable rates?
Competition has always been good, not just in the banking sector, but in the sector. So the more banks compete either for currencies, or they compete for customers, they compete for foreign exchange, the better rates customers are likely to benefit. So, and that's one of the issues that the central bank has been hammering on, that we need more interbank trading. We need banks to trade among themselves. so that if a bank has more foreign currency than the other one, they can share with the other one. So maybe this could be another sign that the interbank rate is working. But it's not the only reason why the shilling is appreciating. Maybe that's one of them. There are a multiplicity of factors why the shilling is appreciating. Not very fast, but very good news from every angle.
Well, we may need to track back a bit and look at the previous CBK governor, that is Patrick Njoroge. Now, the CBK current governor, that is Kamal Tuge, recently questioned his predecessor, that is Patrick Njoroge's management of the shilling, arguing that Njoroge's interventions in the forex market kept the Kenyan shilling artificially strong, meaning that its value against the dollar was higher than it should have been. So what's your assessment of Njoroge's intervention as at the time he was the CBK governor?
That's a very interesting question, because one of the talks I've been hearing on the Kenyan media, the Kenyan streets, is the current government blaming the former government. And one of the areas they have been blamed off is that they propped up the shilling, and they kept the value of the shilling artificially high. I think the central bank governor has been heard saying that the shilling is actually finding its true value by depreciating. But it's very hard to know exactly what was happening, because some of the policy decisions made by central bank not always open to the public. But my argument is, I don't think we need to blame the previous regimes or the previous central bank governors. Let's see what the current people in charge, the current government, the current central bank governor can do to make the shilling appreciate and stop the slide in value, and by extension, stop the rising inflation. I think it's not good to blame previous regimes, but let's see what the current regime can do.
Okay, the problem. Well, the CBK raised its base rates by 2 percentage points to 12.5% in the last, of course, in last week's Monetary Policy Committee meeting. So a lot of people are questioning if the higher interest rates will attract foreign inflows into the market now.
It's a big if. In fact, it's one of the biggest we're having around, whether the big rise, 2% or 200 basis points, will have the intended effect. Of course, we expect one of the reasons why the rate was raised is to make sure that the shilling becomes strong. But remember, every policy you make does not have an immediate impact. It usually takes effect with a lag. So in the coming months, we are going to see whether that was the right intervention or whether that was the right policy or not. But remember that the weakening of the shilling is not just about interest rates. There are other multiplicity of factors, and all of them must be looked at. For example, we talked about the remittances. Are they going to continue inflowing? Are people going to have more confidence in the economy so that they bring more foreign direct investment? So that's one step, but one of the many steps that we expect the government to take, the individuals to take, so that the sustained strengthening of the shilling continues.
Of course, and that's what a lot of people are actually looking out for, if the CBK will still tighten its monetary policy, looking at the rate the inflation would go in the coming months. Professor Iraki, Economist, University of Nairobi, thank you so much for your time on the show.
Thank you, and have a good afternoon.
And you too. The Kenyan shilling's recent performance is a cause for cautious optimism. However, it's vital, of course, it is very vital to observe how these trends develop over time. Continuing to monitor the factors influencing both demand and supply will be crucial in understanding the currency's future trajectory and its potential impact on the broader Kenyan economy. Thank you so much for being part of today's edition of our Business Edge. You can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Do not forget that you can visit our website, www.newscentral.africa, and equally download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store. I am Lekan, Onabanjo. Many thanks for being there. Tomorrow we'll be there again, 11 a.m. West African time, even as we look at other business-related issues. At the top of the hour, we will definitely bring you the news, so do not go away. Enjoy your day.